Hello students. In the previous video, we have studied Newton's first law of motion. It predicts the behavior of objects for which all existing forces are balanced. When the forces acting on an object are balanced, the object will not accelerate. According to Newton, an object will only accelerate if there is an external unbalanced force acting upon it. This unbalanced force can result in change in speed, direction, or both in an object. Newton's second law of motion is concerned with the effect that unbalanced forces have on motion. Let's study Newton's second law of motion. In the figure A, you can see that the weight of the wagon with the child in it, W, and the force that the ground is exerting back on the wagon, that is N, are equal and opposite. These internal forces cancel each other out. These are vertical forces. They cancel each other out because there is no acceleration in the vertical direction. Now the two forces F1 and F2 exerted by the other two girls are external forces. These different forces exerted by the two girls on the same mass produce different accelerations. As you can see in the figure A, a smaller net force produces a smaller acceleration, and in the figure C, a larger net force produces a larger acceleration. So from this, we can infer that acceleration is directly proportional to and in the same direction as the net external force. Here the symbol alpha means proportional to and F net is external unbalanced force. So let this be equation 1. Let's consider a case where the same forces are being exerted on different masses. In this case, both the systems produce different accelerations. In figure A, a basketball player pushes on a basketball to make a pass. And in figure B, the player exerts an equal force on an SUV which is at rest. Here it is clear that the object with smaller mass has experienced more acceleration than the object with larger mass. From this, we can infer that acceleration of an object not only depends on the net external force but also on the mass of the object. So from this, we can write acceleration is inversely proportional to mass of an object. More is the mass of an object, less will its acceleration be, and vice versa. Let this be equation 2. So combining the two equations, we get acceleration is directly proportional to the net force acting on the object and inversely proportional to the mass of an object. When only the magnitude of force and acceleration are considered, this equation can simply be written as F net is equal to ma. Newton's second law of motion states that more mass an object has, more force is necessary for it to accelerate. Now let's define the quantity momentum. Momentum is a word that we often hear in everyday life. Momentum is measurement of mass in motion. It is a quantity that tells us how much mass is involved in how much motion. It is usually denoted by the lowercase letter p. Momentum p of an object is defined as the product of its mass m and velocity v. P is equal to mv. Since mass is a scalar quantity and velocity is a vector quantity, a scalar multiplied by a vector is a vector quantity. Hence, momentum is also a vector quantity. The SI unit of momentum is kg meters per second. Let's consider a case in which a man is pushing a car with a dead battery. Let's say a speed of 1 meter per second is sufficient to start its engine. If the man is giving a sudden push to it, it barely starts as shown in the figure A. But if he pushes continuously over some time, it results in gradual acceleration of the car to the required speed, which is 1 meter per second, which is enough to start the engine. Now it is clear that change in momentum of the car is not only dependent on the amount of force applied, but also the time during which the force is exerted. Hence, we can conclude that force is required to change the momentum of the object. The second law of motion states that rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force in the direction of force. Let's derive Newton's second law of motion mathematically. Let the mass of the moving object be small m and let its velocity change from u to v in time interval t. We know that momentum of the object is product of mass and its velocity. Momentum p of the object at its initial velocity u can be written as m into u, that is mu. Momentum p of the object at its final velocity v can be written as m into v, mv. The change in momentum can be written as mv minus mu. And the rate of change of momentum can be expressed as mv minus mu by t, that is change in momentum with respect to time. Let this be equation 1. According to Newton's second law of motion, we know that force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum. Now this can be mathematically represented as force is proportional to mv minus mu by t. We have substituted equation 1. If we take m common, we can write F is proportional to m into v minus u by t. Now since v minus u by t is nothing but acceleration, we can write a in the place of v minus u by t. Now if we take out this proportionality factor, we can multiply constant of proportionality on either side of the equation. So if 1 unit of force is required to produce an acceleration of 1 meter per second square in an object of mass m, the value of k would be 1. If you substitute the value of k in this equation, you will get F is equal to ma. The first law of motion can be mathematically stated using the expression F is equal to ma. This can also be written as F is equal to m into v minus u by t, since acceleration is change in velocity by time. Now if you multiply t with F, then the equation will become Ft is equal to mv minus mu. Let this be equation 1. Let us consider a case when the net force acting on the object is 0. So if you substitute the value of force 0 in equation 1, you get 0 into t is equal to mv minus mu. And if you take m common and send v on the other side, you will get v is equal to u for whatever time t. Now this means that the object will continue to move with uniform velocity u throughout the time t. Now in the same equation v is equal to u, if you substitute the value u is 0, that is, if you consider the initial velocity of the object to be 0, then its final velocity will also become 0. Now this will explain another part of the first law of motion that states that the object at rest will remain at rest. Since you've understood both Newton's first and second law of motion, I'd like to end this video by asking you a question. How is Newton's first law different from the second law of motion? Please answer this question in your journals. Thank you.